Hello and welcome once again to Huntington Stadium. The York City Knights have put their supporters through pleasure and pain in the past few weeks as the season has unfolded. So we're here to get the inside track after a topsy-turvy start to the season with part 3 of Inside the Knights. Since the last edition of our programme, the Knights have exited the Northern Rail Cup, been surprisingly beaten at home by Swinton in the NL2 curtain raiser, and claimed a spectacular victory away at Oldham in the 4th round of the PowerGen Challenge Cup. Tonight we're down at training ahead of another big game, this time away at Keighley this coming Sunday. And we're going to start the show by talking to the very talented Knights super sub, Jim Elston. Since joining the Knights from Dewsbury Rams last year, Jim Elston has firmly established himself as one of the most exciting players at the club. A return of 18 tries from 30 games last season, coming off the bench 21 times, illustrates how much his contribution means to the team. And with some cracking performances under his belt already in 2005, this campaign is another chance for Jim to shine. So Jim, first of all, can you tell us, are you enjoying the season so far?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a crazy season really. We had a tough group in the Northern Rail, which was nice to test yourself against Castleford and teams like that. We had a couple of good battles with Featherstone, but really, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's there's been a lot of competition for places, so it's I've led the team out a couple of times in the absence of Chris Levy, so it's been I've enjoyed, being captain and things like that, so it's been good.
Now you were sub 21 times last season, you came off the bench 21 times last season. You've got a bit of a reputation being a super sub. Does that suit you, do you think?
No. The official statement is I prefer to start. I can see the merits in doing it, and I can see, because I'm a little bit faster than what Lee is at the moment of his career, that it speeds the game up, and it does make a difference, but I would prefer to start generally if given the choice. But if not, I know it works. It's proved that it works. I scored, quite a few tries off the bench last year, so we'll have to see what Mick Cook thinks. This week I started on the bench, and Lee was tremendous. So I think that's probably, I would imagine that the same will follow this week. But it's good that the competition's there. If both me and Lee know that if we're not on top form, then the other one's going to start. But there's no animosity between us, although there is quite a high rivalry. But it goes no further than that.
So the past few weeks since our last show, there's been a couple of disappointing results. Can you explain why you think that happened?
Really, I think it was down to not being mentally prepared. I think for the Swinton game, I think we a lot of players were rested from the Hunslet game, and it was geared up for the big start. We all knew it was the big start, and we all wanted to win. We were all there, and we never really got going. We didn't do the things that we did this week against Oldham. The support play wasn't there. People were dropping off tackles, and it was just about sort of recognising that there was something everybody needed to work harder, and we never really got clicked into gear. And I think that's more to do still with a lot of people being new to each other, and getting to know each other. But I think we had a team meeting, and we've sort of demanded a little bit more from each other and asked a lot of questions and things like that. So we've hopefully got rid of performances like that, and we'll look to move on.
Do you think maybe you've been a bit hard on yourself? Because I think Swinton were a very, very good side.
I thought they were, but the first sort of 10-15 minutes it was a battle, and they got the first break. And I think if it had gone to us, then the game probably would have swung our way and not theirs. We got ourselves back into a position to do it, and then made sort of uncharacteristic errors through experienced players like Dan Potter and things like that, who people like that don't make errors, and it happened, and we've got to sort of realise that and work a bit harder. And although I thought Swinton were a good team, they weren't better than us in that way.
So moving from the negative to the positive, fantastic result at Oldham. How much of a boost has that been for the players' morale after you received a bit of criticism for the Hunslet and the Swinton games?
It was massive, really. I think more than anything else, it showed what fight we've got. It was an end-to-end game, and we all wanted to win it. We all wanted to prove that we were good. We test ourselves against sort of National League 1 again and go a little bit further in the cup. But what was sort of said in the dressing rooms and while we were playing and things like that was that this has got to kickstart us back to the league. The league's the most important thing. We know we can't afford to lose many games because we did it last year. We had the blip, and you know, for every team in this division will lose at least once. Some will, you know, some of the top teams will lose, hopefully 3 or 4 times. But if we can put that to bed now and move on, using what we've learnt from the Oldham game to sort of make it better and take us forward.
So let's talk about the next round of the Challenge Cup. St Helens, they don't come much bigger than that. What was the players' reaction when they found out that was the draw?
I loved it, really. I thought it was fantastic. You either want a team you can beat or one of the top teams, and I think at the moment Leeds and St Helens are the top 2 teams in the Super League competition, so we've got to take that and enjoy it. You never know with St Helens, they could turn up and have a bad day, they could, and we could have a big shock and really enjoy it. But we're going to St Helens, there'll be a big crowd. We're playing against some of the world's best players, you know, in Jamie Lyons and Sean Long and Sculthorpe. Personally for me, I'm sort of fairly good friends with Nick Fozzard, and he's been on the phone already to tell me that, you know, we're going to spend a lot of time behind the sticks and things like that. So it was good. It'll be a good bit of banter, and it'll be good to take on the size of their pack and see what we can do against them, see how we match up, really.
So last season we played Huddersfield, and as you remember, it was a good day out. We got a bit of a hammering. Can we beat St Helens?
I'd say yes, obviously. You know, all the odds are stacked against us. They're a full-time side, you know, stacked full of internationals. But rugby league is a strange old game. You know, if we turn up and they don't, and we play and they make some errors and we can capitalise on them, then we can beat them. I thought Huddersfield last year, in many ways, we give them a little bit too much respect to start with. In the second half, we actually won the second half, which many said they eased off and they brought Stanley Jean off and things like that. But they were, you know, there was still a quality side out there, and we managed to contain them, score tries against them, and do the things right. So we know we've got, you know, tries in us, and that's what the game's about. So hopefully we can go there and do a good job and a good account of ourselves.
Now, before the St Helens games, a lot of other big league games, and there's one coming up on Sunday away at Keighley. Have you got your mind on the job?
Definitely. As soon as we finished the Howden game, the next thought was Keighley. It was right. We've had a blip against Swinton. We've got to get back, but they're going to be tough. They've got a good side. They're at home, and we've got to think, you know, how we're going to play, what we're going to do, get the tactics right, stick to the game plan, and get through it really, and make sure we come out with a win. And that's all that matters. You know, however we win, we've got to win, and just focus every week.
Finally, Jim, you're a massive part in a tremendous side last season, but we just missed out. Do you think the squad this season is good enough to get us out of this division?
Definitely. It's I think the squad's improved from last year. We've got more competition for places in pretty much every position. We've got people busting a gut to get in the side in training the house down. There's just no room to relax at all. You know, in some positions there's 3 players, which means one may be on the bench, the other sat watching. So there's no that. Obviously, you know, breeds competition and makes sure that everybody's on their toes. And if we can sort of take that commitment into the games, then we should have no problems in sort of being there or thereabouts at the end of the season. If hopefully it'll be through automatic promotion. If not, we've got the experience of the final last year, and to make sure we play for 80 minutes and not 75.
Confident words, Jim. Thanks for speaking to us.
No problem. Thank you.
Now, rugby league players are often very well respected for their skills on the field, but perhaps not so much for their academic ability. But that's certainly not true of the next person I'm going to speak to on this edition of Inside the Knights, and that is the Knights captain, Chris Levy. And we're here today at All Saints School, where Chris teaches maths, to find out a little bit more about our Australian import. 27-year-old Aussie Chris Levy was appointed Knights captain by coach Mick Cook for 2005. Chris came highly recommended from Down Under after a spell in NRL reserve grade rugby. Having received some criticism at the start of the season, Chris silenced those critics with a superb 2-try display against Sheffield Eagles, putting any doubts about his ability to rest. In addition to his playing career, Chris is a maths and PE teacher, and I started our interview by asking him how long he had been strutting his stuff in the classroom.
I've been a maths teacher full-time for 3 years now. Before that I did some PE work. I can actually teach PE and maths, but the last 3 years I've concentrated mainly on the maths.
So I've seen you teaching this afternoon. Do you enjoy your job?
Yeah, definitely. I love getting involved with the kids, whether it be teaching, coaching, anything involved with kids. I really enjoy doing. It's good to see them develop and see them head in the right direction.
And do they know who you are?
Well, I hope so, because I'm their teacher. But yeah, the majority of them know that I play with the Knights, and it's a good thing. It sort of gives me a bit more respect from the kids that enjoy the rugby, and even the football fans. They notice that they've got someone on the staff who plays sport, and you gain a level of respect from that.
So you've come from Australia. How has this job helped you settle in Britain?
I think it's helped me a lot to settle. It helps me keep my mind off things, what might be happening back home. Homesick. Just keep busy. Teach, go to work. I'm not too concerned about how my family is and how my friends are. What I'm saying is I don't really tend to miss them as much as what I probably would if I wasn't working, because my mind's focused on other things.
Teachers always say that it's a very full-on job, and obviously they have nice summer holidays and things, but how do you fit in rugby league with teaching?
I think it's because I'm used to it now. I've done it for 5-6 years, taught full time and then gone to training. And you love playing your rugby, you love doing your job, so you bear with it. At times it might be late nights, 9:30, not eating dinner to 10:30, but you get used to it, and you wouldn't do it if you didn't love doing both things.
So thinking about the rugby side, how are you settling into the club?
I think I've settled in pretty well. I thought I've played relatively well so far. Not as well as what I would have liked, hence not being in the team the last few weeks. But that's part of rugby league. You have your ups and your downs, and you just deal with it, and you just work harder to get in there.
So how did you feel when you were made captain of the Knights?
I was honoured. I hadn't been here for that long. I got here in November. Wasn't in the best nick. I was a bit overweight and a bit unfit. But I thought I worked relatively hard in the pre-season. And then when Mick Cook came to me and said he wanted me to lead us out against Leeds, I was really honoured. Obviously, Mick and the coaching staff had seen that I'd gained some respect from the players and that I'd had their respect, and I was really chuffed. I was really happy about it.
So coming from Australia, it's a very popular sport, is rugby league in Australia, and they always have the best team in the world, it seems, and beat us, annoyingly. What's the difference, you think, between the game where you're from and the game here?
To be honest, I haven't noticed too many differences. The standard over here is really good. I've been really happy with the standard of our team so far. We've had our ups and downs in the game, but every team has that. I've watched a bit of Super League. I've got a few mates that are playing Super League over here, and the standards look really good. Leeds beat the Bulldogs in the World Club Challenge. So at the moment, you guys have got the world champions, but. I'm not too sure. Maybe it's because it's more popular back home and we get more competition for positions, and there's more competition for those representative teams. So I think the competition in general is what makes it a higher standard back home.
So rugby league seemed to go in this country through a bit of a decline. It seems to be coming back again. Obviously, you can see with the Knights and the crowds are rising, and obviously Super League's been a great success. What's the story in Australia?
Well, we go through the same stages. We had the Super League war back in '97, and rugby league was really on a downer back then. I was at Penrith at the time, and we were only getting crowds of 3,000 to 5,000 during the first grade game. But when the competitions were reunited in '98, the crowd started coming back, and they've just continued to increase. And now you get crowds of 20,000. 20,000 each week to every game. So the crowds are coming back, and it's really thriving back home as it is here.
So do you have any regrets about coming to England and joining the Knights?
No, not at all. I'm enjoying my time here. I'm with a good club. The staff, the players, they're great people, and I've made a lot of friends. It's an experience for me, and it's a journey, and I'm really enjoying it at the moment.
So finally, you've got a good career as a teacher, but if somebody came along, maybe a Super League club in this country or a big club in Australia, and asked you to turn pro, wanted to take you on full time, would you turn your back on teaching?
I'm not too sure. It's sort of one of the ones that you'd have to cross when it came. I spent a year full time back in 2000 with Penrith. That's probably been the best year of my rugby league career. We lost a grand final to the Bulldogs in the second grade. But I'm 27 now, 28 this year, so I'm sort of getting on a bit, and I really do enjoy the teaching. When I was full time, I found at times I got a bit bored because you've got 3-hour, 4-hour breaks during the day. So if you don't play golf or you don't have a PlayStation, you can get a bit bored. So I don't know. It's it'd be a great opportunity. But as I said, I'm getting a bit old at the moment. So if that comes along, we'll see what happens.
Well, thanks for giving us the opportunity and teaching us a bit of maths this afternoon, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks, Filter.
Thanks to Chris Levy and his pupils for that interesting insight into the life of the Knights captain. Join us after the break for all the action from the Knights away game at Keighley Cougars.
And they've got a lucrative tie against the mighty St Helens. Please welcome the Keighley Cougars! Give him a big cheer, everybody. And the try there for the York City Knights, number 10, Adam Sullivan. And the successful penalty. And the extra point is added there by number 6, Paul Elston. It's a great individual solo effort there from number 7, Matty Firth. And the successful conversion for number... It's a Cougar throw! And he crawled, give it up to number 1, Matt Bravo! I knew that. And the Cougar conversion by number 6. Driver for the York City Knights, number 4, Neil Law. And try for York City Knights, number 3, Dan Potter. And the driver for York City Knights, number 2, Paul Fairfield. And the final score, the Keighley Cougars 31, the York City Knights 42. Huge disappointment for the Keighley Cougars. Great jubilation to York, came back extremely well when the Cougars were reduced to 12 men. Plenty of controversy in this game, plenty of talking points.
We'll start Statzone this time by looking at the results from the opening 3 rounds of National League 2. And the Knights fans won't need reminding of the shock to the system in the first round, a surprising 34-18 home defeat at the hands of Swinton Lions. Sloppy play in the opening quarter of the game handed the Lions a healthy lead which they never relinquished, so a big disappointment on the opening day. Elsewhere, results went with form, with all the major contenders for this year's crown getting a win, except the York City Knights and the Hunslet Hawks, who were beaten by this year's favourites, the Rams from Dewsbury. One interesting but depressing fact from this round, a crowd of only 200 turned up at New River Stadium to watch London Scholars against Sheffield, a very poor figure indeed. The biggest crowd of the day was 1,890, and I don't need to tell you where that was, the Knights nearly twice the size support-wise of any other club in this division. You've seen the action already from the game against Keighley, a great turnaround from the players after some silly mistakes early on. While the number of errors will be a worry, the character in the side is clearly there's no doubt about it. Around the grounds, Sheffield got a shock when they went down at home to Blackpool Panthers, and the wheels came off the wagon for Workington, hammered 56-18 by a rampant Swinton. Match day 3 saw a truly wonderful performance from the York City Knights, who massacred an abysmal Sheffield Eagles by 60 points to 10. A 4-try man-of-the-match performance from Peter Fox was augmented by tries from John Liddell, Dan Potter, Jim Elston, Simon Friend, John Smith and 2 from a resurgent Chris Levy. A healthy crowd of 1,596 went home ecstatic and full of belief that this could be the year. In the other results, London gleaned a rare victory away at the Panthers. Pace setter Swinton came crashing back down to earth with defeat at Dewsbury, and the green shoots of improvement shown by Gateshead were crushed with a 50-0 home loss to Hunslet Hawks. Looking at the league table, Dewsbury lead the way early on with 3 wins out of 3, justifying their tag as favourites, with the Knights down in 3rd place after 2 wins and 1 defeat. Hunslet are the surprise package so far in second place, a team who looked poor in the Northern Rail group stage but have started well in the league. The Knights could go top with a win over Dewsbury in the next fixture at Huntington Stadium, and what a cracker that should turn out to be. Down at the bottom there are no surprises, although Sheffield Eagles will need to take a long hard look at themselves to get anything at all out of this National League season. However, Workington were in the same position at the bottom last year, so it's not wise to write anyone off yet. A look at the leading try scorers for the Knights since the competitive season has started shows Peter Fox out in front with a magnificent 10 tries, closely followed by Dan Potter with 7, Neil Law with 6, and then Chris Levy and John Smith both with 4. The Flying Fox is on form, but when you take into account that Dan Potter has missed 4 games and still managed 7 scores, it should be a close race. The forthcoming fixtures for the York City Knights are pretty impressive, with the next 2 games being absolutely massive. First up at the Huntington Stadium is a game against unbeaten Dewsbury Rams, a game that should provide a good indication of where the Knights will finish this season. Then of course it's the Power Gen Challenge Cup tie at Knowsley Road against the mighty St Helens, one of the most famous clubs in the world. I hope you've got your tickets, because that should be a night to remember whatever the scoreline. Then it's back to the bread and butter on May the 15th with a game in the North East against Gateshead Thunder. This time round the game is not at the huge international stadium but at Kingston Park, the home of the Newcastle Falcons from Union. But you could play this game on the moon and the Knights should still win. So as you've just seen, an amazing victory here at Cougar Park for the York City Knights. And who better to get their thoughts on the game than the Knights Development Officer and Assistant Coach and of course Keighley legend Jason Ramshaw. Knights Development Officer Jason Ramshaw was once described by former Chief Executive Steve Ferris as the best in the business. And this season Jason has expanded his work, helping out on the coaching side, as well as being responsible for the brand new Knights Scholarship Scheme. One of the most highly respected players outside Super League in the past decade, Jason is regarded quite rightly as a legend by the home club Keighley Cougars, a club to whom he gave impeccable service. So Jason, let's start with your thoughts on an amazing game.
Yeah, geez, I know the coaching staff had a bit of a chat at the end, and yeah, they're just like putting us through a bit of pressure. And I think the grey hairs are slowly coming through on the head. So no, it's obviously a great win for us, but they did the hard way.
1 or 2 sloppy errors gave Keighley quite a big lead.
Yeah, we talked about half time. I think it was just a few individual errors that gave them that advantage. So we just talked about cutting those out at half time, and just I thought we were playing pretty much okay the first half. So just get back to what we're doing and cut out the individual errors, and we're sure that it'd come for us.
Now, I was eavesdropping on the Keighley Cougars coach. He's not very happy with the refereeing. Would you go along with him?
Yeah, I know there's been a lot in the press about referees, and it is a tough job. I think they need to get more assistance from the touch judges. I thought today again, I think we had a few calls. I know Jimmy Elston's got 10 minutes in the sin bin for getting knocked out really, and it was absolutely diabolical that Jimmy could get sent off for that. And again, Dan Potter, he's had his shirt pulled back and he's like reacted a little bit to that, and he's got sin bin. So yeah, it's a difficult job for the referees in the middle, and but obviously we've just got to take that out of the equation. We've got to do our football, and hopefully if we play the best of our ability, let's say the referees' decisions don't matter.
Do you think it'd be unfair to say that Keighley were a dirty side today?
No, I wouldn't say the dirty side. Obviously they try and work to a game plan. When we do our coaching at York Knights, we try and play within the rules. I'm not saying Keighley didn't, but they obviously know they target a few of our key men and try and put a block on there. So no, I wouldn't say they were really dirty.
Now Keighley were announcing the fact that if they'd won today's game they'd be top of the league. Do you think they'll be near the top towards the end of the season?
I think they'll do all right. I think they'll be around 5th, 6th spot, pushing in that playoff position. So it's always a difficult place to come, is Keighley, and obviously we had the slope downhill, which was our advantage, and we used that to good effect and got the result.
So when you go back to training next week, what are you going to be working on to try and get rid of some of those errors?
Yeah, we're working on the individual core skills, the grip, carry and catch, and then we'll be looking. I think we need to speed the play, the ball area up a little bit. Teams obviously know that we play the game quick, and they're getting numbers into the tackle and trying to slow us down. So I think there'll be a couple of our key points that we're working in training.
It must be a bit of a strange day for you, because obviously you're a legend here in the Hall of Fame, and they've been calling your name all day, it seems. So was that a bit strange to come back, and obviously with the manner of the game?
No, it didn't really feel too strange. It's the first time I've been back on a professional capacity really for another team. So yeah, I did enjoy coming back in. Obviously meeting a lot of people, had a lot of good times here. There's a lot of good memories that I've got at the club. So yeah, it's just good to come back. But my main priority was to get a win for York Knights, which we did. So I'll go home a happy man.
We lost to Swinton and we've beaten Keighley. How significant do you think this result is?
I think it's definitely a significant result. I think a lot of top teams will come here and lose, so obviously we've done the hard thing and we've won the game, so that was our priority after the poor display really against Swinton. We know that we had to get back on track, and the second half performance was outstanding.
What effect did the supporters have today? It seemed to be more York than Keighley here today, and they were pretty noisy as the tries were rolling over the line.
Yeah, I think again the support from the York Knights fans are absolutely superb. I think they talked about it before, but away games, the fans seem to generate more noise there, and when we were getting a bit of a sniff back into the game, the Knights fans give us a great boost, and all the players walked off the field 10 feet tall, so thank you again for all the Knights fans.
It's been a great victory today, but of course coming up we've got Sheffield Eagles and Dewsbury Rams, so there's no resting on our laurels. It's going to be pretty tough, those games.
Yeah, that's right. I know Sheffield had a loss on Friday night, and they're not looking probably as strong as they were last year, but we'll just prepare like we do for each game. We'll take Sheffield and hopefully get a win there, and then we'll prepare for Dewsbury, which is, again, I think they're going to be in the top 3 at the end of the season, so again that's a massive two games for us.
Well, thanks very much for speaking to us. I know you're in demand today with the race night tonight, but thanks for your time.
Thanks, Phil. Cheers.
That's all from us here at Cougar Park, and that's all for this edition of Inside the Knights. A great victory today, and let's hope it's the first of many as we follow the team through the season. Join us next time. Bye-bye.